So a little backstory. My house is from the 80s, and it's old and super creepy. Recently my sister and I expressed feelings of being watched in the basement. So it all starts when my dad, who travels for work a lot, and has 2 phones that he keeps on him at all times. This will be important later. He was on a business trip in Europe, and my mom was taking my sister to the doctors. I do cyber school, so I was home doing school. Halfway through an algebra assignment, I heard an alarm go off in the basement, with a generic iPhone ring. My first thought is that, oh, Dad probably left his personal phone at home. Then I realized I had texted him early in that day and called him on both phones. Then the alarm turns off after one ring, which freaks me the hell out. So I grabbed a knife from my collection from rent fairs and decided to investigate. Then I heard footsteps and bolted. I hid in my treehouse for a good 30 minutes. Then my mom called to ask how school was going, and I explained what was happening. She said, "I can't deal with your bullshit now," and told me to go back inside, which I reluctantly did. I swept the house, calling out for the person to come out, but I found nothing. I have now locked myself in my room, and am terrified as hell. By the way, I'm 15 and not sure what to do. When I was a teenager, my parents went to Christmas shopping one Saturday in a town about an hour north from where we lived. I was into AOL chat at a time. Who wasn't? So as evening approached, I got on my computer in our dining room. It was dark outside, and I decided to get something to eat. So I stood up, and when I looked out on the window, I saw headlights coming up our driveway. Nothing out of usual. I was expecting my parents would be coming home soon anyway, as it was getting late. So they came outside. I remember my mom reaching down and taking off her boots and saying hi. Then my stepdad says he's going to smoke a cigarette in our garage and asked my mom if she wanted to go with him. She said yes, so she put her boot back on and went outside. An hour goes by and they hadn't come back inside. By this time, I was about ready to go to bed, so I go outside to say good night. I opened the garage and it was empty. No cars, no parents, darkness. I go inside and ask my sister where they went, and she looks at me and says, "They haven't come home yet." Confused, I call my mom. She says they are still in town an hour away. I was angry and remember saying,
"This isn't a joke. Where did you go?"
To this day, I still don't know what the hell happened. My mom claimed I must have fallen asleep on a computer, but I know for a fact I didn't. I still remember vividly what they were wearing. And the strangest part is that when they finally came home, the way she bent down and took off her boot was the exact same as I remember the quote-unquote first time. Never had an experience like this again, but I have thought about it often. In 1998, I worked as a security guard at a local Christian college. The first night on a job, I was told my responsibility to patrol the campus all night. Make sure the main doors were locked and to make sure that all lights were off in the chapel. And it's locked by 11 p.m., standard stuff. So I started walking around the campus, getting to know a few students and just feeling everything out. When 11 p.m. came, I went to the chapel and went to the basement first. Getting to the bottom stairwell door, I realized it won't open. I push on 4 or 5 times, but the door seems locked. So I go back up and out and go into the back door. The basement is locked down. All the lights out and is secure. I go over that stairwell door and it opens easy for me from the outside. I figure it's just how the door is made. I go back upstairs and go to the stage where the light switches are. I looked up and see what looks like a kid in the balcony. I yell for him, but he doesn't answer. Oddly enough, when I get up there, I can't find him. I get creeped out, but I figure it's late and I'm just seeing shadows. I go back down, cut all the lights, and locked up the chapel. 3 a.m. I go for a full campus rounds just to check up on everything. Heading across the quad, I notice that the lights are on in the basement of the chapel, as well as the front spotlight. I go to the basement back door and find it still locked. I go in, cut the lights, and as soon as I do, I hear a long loud bang in the stairwell. I run in there and upstairs thinking I am chasing someone, but there was no one anywhere. I go back down and leave the back door and lock it. As I walked around, I noticed the spotlight is off. I checked to see if it could be motion control, but it's not. Since my first night, I decided not to say anything. The second night changed that. I again had weird experience around the chapel, but on the night 2, I also hear weird crying sounds in the woods on the north side of the campus. I also saw 2 strange hooded teens down on the southwest side near the tennis court R. I tried to get closer to them, but it always seems like they're constantly moving 20 or 30 yards away from me. The next shift at work, I decided to ask the guy who hired me about the weirdness. He said that one of the other guards would drop by and basically debrief me. The guard who showed up was 300 pounds of pure muscle, a Cherokee beast of a man. I told him everything, and he said, "Yep, that sounds about right." He then proceeded to tell me that everyone who worked overnight had some experience. He said the stairway doors do not lock, but that himself had spent 40 minutes one night locked between the floors. He told me that he had thrown all his weight against both doors, but they wouldn't move, and that every time he tried, he would hear this crazy laughter. He said he had chased what he thought were teens through the downstairs hall, just to watch them disappear, that another guard had walked into the chapel and stumbled into what looked like a sacrifice with occult symbols drawn on the stage, and had chased off people in cloaks, only find that all evidence had disappeared when he came back after trying to catch the cloaked figures. Also, the occult symbols were constantly being found on campus. Needless to say, I didn't stay there long. This was around 2 to 4 years ago. So here are the people in it, my friend and me. So I was sleeping at my friend's house. We were in a dining room. His mom was in the sitting room. Most people call it a living room. Then a strong wind, thunder, and lightning. So we ran to the sitting room and went to the corner and looked out of the window, and this is what happened. Me and my friend sees a white figure go past the window. I said,
Did you see that?
My friend replied.
Yeah.
So I said,
Oh God. What did you see then?
My friend replied.
A white figure.
Me and my friend, we ran upstairs. This is the scary part. We saw a white figure again in the woods. We called it Come On Woods. We saw it again, and my friend said he saw it another time. Also clothes it was wearing looked like a woman's dress, and when I was researching about it, I found this. There's a Welsh tradition in Wales. The lady in white appeared to guard a treasure located in the tower of Ogmore Castle. When a man had the courage to approach her, she rewarded him with half the treasure. In his greed, he took it all, but the white lady retailed. Her fingers turned into claws. The man later wasted away and died.